Welcome back. This is Dan Havey with CF Ninja Hacks, and in this video today we are going to go through the updated version of the One Funnel Away Challenge order form. Since I first recorded that video, which I think was about 10 months ago, they've come in and they've made a few minor changes. So let's just look at what they did. So open this up. There's not a whole lot down here at the bottom, I don't think at all. And I think they changed some of these headlines a little bit, especially this one here. And then, of course, the big change is where they put these images up top. So we're going to go through how to put those in. And as always, if you like my videos, make sure you come down here in the right-hand corner and click on subscribe. So the first thing I want to do is actually fill in a little bit of something that I didn't do in the first video, and that is to put in these carets on each one of the header lines. Now you're going to see inside of ClickFunnels right now, they're showing up as squares, and that's because Font Awesome had a big update sometime in the last few months, I think it was, and then ClickFunnels came in and they updated their stuff. But if you didn't make certain changes inside of the funnel itself, those changes did not take effect. And so I would guess at this point nobody's looked at this funnel for a while, and so they don't know that the icons are all messed up. So let's go into our funnel that we are working on and take a look what we need to do on that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this on the original version of the funnel, just because I want that in the first version. And then, of course, what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this page and then make the changes to it for the next one, for the where they put in the images and stuff. So what we have to do to get that little caret to appear over here is, first thing we want to do is we want to come in and we want to grab the CSS ID selector for each one of these elements, and I'll just show where you grab it for the first one. So you just grab this here, row 74046, and then we're going to go up into our tracking code, and we are only going to put in one simple line of code. But what I have to show you before this is really the most important part, and that's in the header code. So we come into the header code, and if I make this a little bit wider, we can see all of the header code. Now, this is a special script given to you by Font Awesome. They're on version 5 now, and I do believe you need this script in order to get this to work. So you can put it in the header code on this page right here, or you could put it in the site-wide header code under settings on the funnel editor page. So what you got to do is go into Font Awesome, so fontawesome.com. You have to create yourself an account, and then it will walk you through as you set up your account. It just walks you straight through, and it makes you set up what they are calling a kit. So I set up a kit, so we have it named right here, Dan's FA kit. And so we'll click on that, and what we need is this code right there, and you can just copy it by clicking that. And then, like I said, you come back into your funnel under the header tracking code and you paste that in, because like I said, without it, I don't believe it's going to work. I mean, ClickFunnels at some point will eventually get this working properly, but right now I'm not sure if it is or not. So test it either way. I haven't tested it that much, so test it either way. It may work without that code, but it also may not work without the code. So I just wanted to make sure you knew where to find that. So let's jump back into our funnel and open our tracking code back up. So what I already showed is how to go in and grab your CSS ID selector, but then after it, we want to put in a space and L headline. And then because we had 3 total, let me open this up a little bit wider, because we had 3 total sections, you have to go in and grab that CSS ID selector for each of the 3 sections and include space dot headline after it. And then what we're doing here is we're saying, this is all JavaScript code, we're saying here add a class of icon. And the reason why we're doing that is we have to add this CSS class to it, because then we have to go into our CSS itself and we need to add in the header caret icon is what I have saying right here. And so what I'm saying is take our icon class, and after the icon class, we want to put in our font family, Font Awesome 5 free, the font weight, the content, this content right here, describes what that little caret is, color white and float right. So let's go back again into Font Awesome itself, and we're going to go to icons. And once in here on the search line, we are going to type in the word caret, and then in this case, we're also going to put in down after it, and it will automatically pull up all the carets that are pointing down. And so all I did is I clicked on the down caret. And then you see there's different ways that you can put this in. It doesn't show it on this page. And this isn't going to be a tutorial on how to use Font Awesome, but you can use an I tag on either side and copy this HTML in somewhere, and it will show the caret. But in this case here, what we want to do is we just want to grab this Unicode. So we just copy that. We would go back into our funnel, and then you would copy this in right here, making sure you have the slash at the front of it to let it know that this is a bit of content that needs to go into that spot. So what this does then is, let me just narrow this down, is because you got your headline here, you got your L headline class or element right here, it's going to make that little caret over here because it says to do it after. And then I also said to float right, so that would go all the way over to the right end over here. So that's how you set up that little caret. So let's just click on save, and then we would reload the page, and of course the caret is going to stay in the same place. So now let's bounce out of here. We already have this saved, so let's get out of here because we need to copy this page so that we have the original version of the 3-step order form, and then we will make our changes. So let's just take the one we have. We want to clone the funnel step. And while we're in here, let's do a few things like change its name. Well, let's add it to the funnel first. And then we will go up to the first one that we have. And let's click on the gear. And we'll change the name of this to OFA Order Form Old. Let's put the space in there. We will delete out the path and update the page. And then we will go up to publishing. And we will delete out the path and click update the funnel step. Now we got a nice step name and also a nice path as well. So let's go to the second one, do exactly the same thing. Click on the gear icon and OFA Order Form. We'll make this one new. Clear out the path, update the page, do the same thing in the publishing tab, clean out that path, and update the funnel step. And if you do that exactly in that order every time, you will always have perfectly nice, beautiful, neat paths and step names. So now let's go into this page and let's start editing. First thing we want to do is go and open up the rows that we have hidden, and we will click there and open it up. So now let's go into the original and let's see what we have to change. I think the titles here are the same. I think the content down here is the same. Yes, it is. I need to scroll up a little bit. Yeah, nothing has changed down here at the bottom. Here on the second section, they changed the name to contact info. And also they got the name, email address. They moved everything down here. So step 2, card. So we have, let's see, everything. Yeah, basically everything we had up top, we're just going to move down into that second section and then call this contact info. So let's start with that. And then we're going to come up and we're just going to grab a hold of this, plunk it down there. Okay, we're going to need a little, let's slide this over some. We're going to need a little padding on this. Or more accurately, margin. So that's at 30. Yeah, let's call that good enough. And then let's grab our shipping address and all the rest of the forms. Okay, let's see here. So they just have address, so we'll just change this to address. And they definitely have some more height there, so let's do that as well. Okay. I think that's good enough. I see it says EXP here, and I got expiry month, expiry year. I'm not going to get too worried about that. So we got the combo here, month and year. Let's see if we can do something about that. So let's see here. They got CBC and they got a combined field there. Let's see. That might be some special coding that they have in there for that, because otherwise we just have the credit card element, and I don't know, is there a way to change that? Let's see here. We can go to the 3 field, 1 field. It's not changing it. So let's try that again. Yeah, it's not letting me change it. Let's try this. Let's just put the element in again. Maybe because we have an old version of it. Let's see if there's an updated version, possibly. So we'll go and say we want the 1. Now it's not letting me change it. So I think for right now, you can see obviously that there is a difference there. So when you get this template, if you want to change that, obviously feel free to do so. But for some reason right now, it's not letting me. So now let's go back up to the very first top section, because that's the important one. And what you're going to see here is you got an image here and an image here. And as I click on the one image, the other one changes out and back and forth. But you don't have to check that little box. You can click anywhere in this image, which tells me that there's actually 2 images on either side here. And I did look at the code a little bit earlier. So there's 2 images here and 2 images here, one with the check and one without the check. So what we have to do is grab all 4 of those images, and then we will put them into ours. So let's just right click and let's say save image as, and we will save that. And then let's click on it and save that version of it. And then over here we will click save image, and then we will click on it and save that image. So now we should have 4 different images, 2 for the digital only and 2 for the physical as well. So let me go to my desktop. Well, actually, let's go over here first, because what we need to do is we need to put in a 2-column row. So we're going to do that. We're going to add a 2-column row, and we're going to put that above this row. And on the left-hand side, we're going to put in an image. And we will clone this a couple of times and drag it over, because we need 2 on each side. Now let's open this up and go into the image editor, and we'll pull in all 4 of those images. So they are right here. I will grab them and just drop them in. And so just to be sure, let's go back to the original page and make sure, I'm pretty sure how it starts off is the digital version is checked. And so I just want to make sure we get the images in the correct order. So we're going to have the digital product here first being clicked, and then the physical and digital if they choose the other. So first thing we need to do is put in that digital only. And then we'll come down below that and we will put in the other digital only without the check mark. And then we will do the exact opposite on the other side. So now the starting state on this will be that these two will be showing and that these two down here at the bottom we will hide. And one thing I did not notice right away that they did with the original is that they changed the border here. It had been a drop shadow and they changed it to just a thin line. And the reason why they had to do that is because, well, I'll just show you. If we come in here, first off, we need to narrow this down some. So we'll narrow the row down until it's where we want it to be. And that looks about right. But now if we put a drop shadow around here, if we come in there and it was 20% drop shadow, if we do that, actually need to make that a little bit more narrow to have this work. Well, let me change that. All right, if we create that drop shadow, you're going to see here we're going to have a double drop shadow down here at the bottom, and there's no way to come in and just say natively to ClickFunnels to come in and just say, well, I only want that drop shadow on the sides, not on the top and bottom. So that's why they went with just a single line, which then you can control on either side easily with CSS. Now, because I really like this drop shadow around here, I turned off everything for a minute just to play around with what I could do. So let's just take a look here. We're going to right click and inspect on this top section. I'm sorry, on this top row. So let's get that pulled up, and that'd be this row right here. And once it gets highlighted, we're going to come down to look for our box shadow. And in fact, it is right here because I put it into the custom CSS. So I moved it up on the page. And let me show you a couple of things. I think I originally set it to 20%, but it really should be at just 10% opacity. So it's basically black with just a little bit of opacity showing on it. And then what I did is you can come in here and click on this little box. So it already had the shadow around it based upon what I put in there from ClickFunnels. But then you can come in and you can start moving around all these elements. And what I found is I left the blur at 5 because that gives me the same kind of line along the side. Spread is 0. And I made I think what it had been before was like 1 and 1 on the X and Y offset. But what I found by moving this up to 10, and let me just see if we can move it around some now. As you can see, as I pull it over to the left, it should stick way out to the left. And then again, we pull it around to the right, it'll go way out to the right. And so what I found is what I wanted to do was to push upwards to the point that there was no longer any shadow at the bottom. See, now we got a bunch of shadow there. But if you push this up to -10, what it did is it totally got rid of that shadow along the bottom, which is what I want. Now it caused a shadow at the top, which we'll take care of that in a minute. So then I did the exact same thing with the bottom one here, except I removed the top shadow instead of the bottom shadow. And let's just take a look at that really quick. And so let's just come down and click on it, and you're going to see it is 0, but it's positive 10, whereas the other one was negative 10 before, and we left the blur at 5. And so again, what that did is it took off what we had at the top and left it around on the sides and on the bottom a little bit. So it's exactly like it was before, and obviously I changed this a little bit as I was messing around. So I'm doing something that I always say people shouldn't do, and I should slap myself for doing this, because I'm actually doing this inside of the editor, and you should never be playing with this tool inside of the editor, because if I were to save this now, it would save all those changes I just made, and we wouldn't know where they were sometimes, what the changes were. So let's just go into our preview, and we will reload this page and look at it on an actual website. And so now we have one more thing we have to do, because as I moved that box shadow around, it pushed all this darkness up into the red. And what we need to do is get this red to stand proud of that. So let's right click and inspect. And we want to click on the row that we're looking for. And then down here, let's put in position relative. And then when we put in a Z index of 9, well, position relative alone did it appeared. Let me see here. Let me take out that Z index and take a look at that. So just putting in position relative brought that to the front, but normally you still want to put in the Z index, because what we're saying here is we want on the screen, we want the box with the red background here. We want this box right here, this row right here, standing in front of, just like if you had like a Word document or something, or you're working in Canva, anything like that, you can say, okay, put one element behind another one or in front of another one by saying position relative and then setting the Z index higher. It will put it in front of the one and it doesn't push the other one behind, but it'll pull this one in front. And any element on a page normally has a Z index of 1 unless you go in and change it programmatically. And so in this case here, we're going to pull that to the front a little bit. So now we got to go back into the editor and fix up the CSS. So we got to grab the row and come down and click on the hash and copy out that ID selector again. And we will go into our CSS. Scroll down to the bottom. Now I put a new section down here. I said new version only, and we'll talk about what's above it here real quickly, but we'll put that in, and we will say position relative semicolon and then Z index colon 9 semicolon and the curly bracket. So what we have here is the two box shadows that we already set up, and you saw pretty much how we did that. So the one box shadow has a negative 10 pixels on the y-axis, and the other one has a positive 10 pixels on the y-axis, and we left the 5 pixels of blur and the opacity of 0.1 all alone. And so now let's save this, and then we will go in and preview it one more time just to make sure all those changes took place. So now the next thing we have to do is tell it that when we click on this image on the right, we want to show the image that has the check mark here and swap out this one for the one that doesn't have the check mark, and then vice versa, so that always you're going to have the one with the check mark and the one without. So if we click on this one, this element here disappears, and that other image that we had below it that we hid is then going to show, and then this one over here will hide and the image below it will show, and we'll just toggle them back and forth. So I'm going to stop recording for a minute. I'm going to write that code, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I finished writing the code, and I didn't even look to see what ClickFunnels did because I really didn't care. I wanted to do it myself. So what we did here is, so now this is the one, if you recall, so we had the checked on top here and the unchecked down below hidden. Then we had the reverse over here. So we had the unchecked on top and the checked below hidden. And so now if you come in and if you click on the one that's already checked, nothing will happen. But if you click on the one that is unchecked, then the two images swap out here and they swap out here. It's just, it happens so fast you can't even see it. But if I click again on here, nothing happens. But if I come back over here and you click, then the images get swapped out again. So let's take a look at the code. It's only a couple of lines long, and I also put in some comments in here just so you could see what we had going on. So again, on the left-hand side, maybe I should put that in here. So either way, the first section here is the left-hand side, the two images there, and the other is on the right-hand side. And you see at first that we have checked here at the top and then not checked for the lower one, and vice versa on the other side, the not checked image on top and the checked image on the bottom. And what we say down here in the bottom is when the not checked is clicked. So you see here we got 26,799, that's our not checked, and we got 46,061, again that is our not checked. So when somebody clicks on the not checked, what we want to do is take the left side images and toggle them, meaning if one is hidden and one is showing, to flip it the other way. So you take any images that are showing and you hide them, and you take any hidden images and you show them. And so we do the same thing on the second set of images on the right hand side. We just swap them out by having all the images that are hidden showing and all the ones that are showing to be hidden. So now we have one last bit of code, and in order to do that, let me just open up the elements here, and we will go all the way down. And at the bottom, I had hidden in the last video the select product down here. And let's go back into the live site itself, and you'll see that if we have just the digital only checked, it will show $100. But if we show that both of them are checked, then it will show the $100 and the $19.95. And that's because they have two different products set up in here. One for the $100 that is on all the time, and then the one for the shipping that will be turned on and off based upon the click. Now, I paused the recording for a little bit because I had to start looking at what was going on in here. I didn't take much of a look at this earlier. So you got your one funnel away, that's $100, and then you toggle the shipping on and off. But one of the interesting things with that is not only do you have it changing from just $100 to $119, is you also have to account for international shipping, and that starts getting into some serious code when you essentially have now three different options. The order bump would just get added on with no problem. But at this point here, we start getting into some serious code, and I was looking in here, and they got a lot of stuff in here from Jamie Smith. He's over at CF Pro Tools. Maybe I'll include a link below, because you need stuff like his CF cart mode, and you're also going to need international shipping and stuff like that. So there's like at least 4 or 5 different scripts in here. If you want to come in and inspect this yourself, there's at least 4 or 5 different scripts in here that you would need in order to get this to function properly. And I, of course, am not going to rewrite all of Jamie's code. The man is a genius, and I am not. So what I'm going to do is call it quits for the day. You saw how to build everything out. And then if you wanted to do one just like this, go over and sign up for CF Pro Tools and grab yourself the code out of there. Put it in. He's got great instructions over there telling you exactly how to do everything. So you can just walk through and put it in and get it set up and get it working for yourself. And in fact, I think if you go over to CF Pro Tools, I think he may even have a version of this over there, and he may show you how to put in some of the specialty code as well. So that is it for today. Until next time, if you have any questions, of course, feel free to reach out. And until next time, have a great day.